The morning sun glints off the waves of the Caribbean Sea as a sleek gray vessel cuts through the blue. Its hull number, WMSL 754, gleams against the waterline. This is the USCGC James, one of the U.S. Coast Guard's most advanced national security cutters. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another warship on routine patrol. But on this day, it carries a mission that will make headlines across the world. Beneath the calm surface lies a growing storm, a transnational drug network moving billions in narcotics through the Americas. For decades, these cartels have used the sea as their lifeline, hiding shipments deep inside fishing boats, semi-submersibles, and even homemade submarines. They are fast, elusive, and ruthless. But today, their luck is about to run out. At 0600 hours, radar operators aboard the James pick up a faint signature, a fast-moving contact, low to the water, heading west from Colombian waters. The blip doesn't match any commercial route. Within minutes, the bridge crew knows what it means. Another go-fast vessel, the smuggler's weapon of choice, is on the move. The command team springs into action. The bridge hums with controlled urgency. Voices calm, precise, and disciplined. Orders are relayed, coordinates locked in, and propulsion throttles forward. Deep inside the engine room, turbines roar to life, pushing 4,500 tons of American steel into pursuit. Above, the ship's sensors sweep the horizon. Every sailor on deck knows the rhythm. This is what they trained for months at sea to execute, a perfect intercept. Overhead, an HC-144 Ocean Sentry surveillance aircraft joins the chase, relaying live infrared footage to the ship's combat center. Through night vision lenses, a long, narrow boat appears, painted in ocean blue to blend with the sea. 3 men aboard, no flag, no registration. The captain gives the order, intercept and IDSIM, investigate. The James deploys its interceptor boat, a small, agile craft manned by a boarding team trained for high-risk pursuit. The wind howls and the sea spray hits hard as they close the distance. The smugglers spot the Coast Guard coming and throttle up, throwing barrels overboard, their last attempt to lighten the load and escape. But there's no escape today. The Coast Guard's pursuit team moves in, weapons ready but restrained. A warning shot cracks through the air, echoing across the empty ocean. The go-fast boat finally slows. The crew is detained, floating in the water nearby, dozens of packages, each wrapped in waterproof tape. Inside, cocaine. Back on the James, the evidence is cataloged, sealed, and stacked on deck. The crew operates with quiet efficiency, each package labeled, photographed, and logged under strict federal chain of custody procedures. Hours later, as the ship steadies and the sun drops below the horizon, the scale of the seizure becomes clear. Nearly 26,000 pounds of cocaine, worth over $350 million, pulled from the ocean before it could reach American shores. It's one of the largest single offloads in Coast Guard history. But the success isn't just about numbers, it's about precision, the flawless link between command, intelligence, and action. The James wasn't working alone. It was part of a vast maritime network that stretches from the Caribbean to the Pacific, from Joint Interagency Task Force South in Florida to forward-deployed U.S. Navy assets tracking cartel routes. This is not a random mission. It's part of an unending war, a silent battle that plays out far from the public eye, fought by sailors, aviators, and intelligence officers who guard the unseen front lines of the Western Hemisphere. For them, every seizure isn't just about drugs. It's about stability, deterrence, and saving lives. Because every shipment stopped. ED means fewer weapons, fewer overdoses, and fewer communities torn apart. And yet, as the crew of the James celebrates their victory, they know the fight isn't over. Somewhere beyond the horizon, another go-fast boat is already refueling, another cartel network plotting a new route. The ocean is vast, and the Coast Guard's watch never ends. As dawn broke over the eastern Pacific, the cutter James pushed further into cartel territory. Its crew had been at sea for weeks, tired, salt-stung, and hungry for results. Yet their focus never wavered. Every sailor aboard knew that a single mistake out here could mean losing a target, or worse. The mission's second phase began under the Joint Interagency Task Force South, a coalition that fuses the intelligence power of the U.S. Coast Guard, Navy, DEA, and regional partners. From a classified command center in Key West, real-time satellite imagery and encrypted radio bursts guided the James through an invisible chessboard of smuggling routes. The crew called it the Blue Highway, and the next move was theirs. For days, the ocean gave them nothing. The crew rotated in 4-hour watches, scanning radar screens, launching drones, and plotting search grids. Then, just after midnight, an unmanned aerial system detected a faint thermal bloom, an engine running hot where none should be. The coordinates placed it 260 miles west of Ecuador. Within minutes, the James shifted course. The chase unfolded in the darkness. The boarding team suited up in body armor, weapons slung tight, radios crackling with clipped commands. The ship's twin MTU diesels roared as the James accelerated into intercept position. When the boarding craft hit the water, its wake shimmered silver under the moonlight. Approaching the suspect vessel, the team could make out shapes beneath a blue tarp. No navigation lights, no flag. The smugglers didn't answer hails on VHF radio, a clear sign they had something to hide. With covering fire from the cutter's .50 caliber mounts, the team closed in. In the beam of a handheld SPS outlight, 3 men froze, eyes wide as the Coast Guard shouted orders in Spanish. Moments later, the tarp was ripped aside, revealing a line of fuel barrels and waterproof bundles stacked amidships. Tests confirmed it. Pure cocaine, more than a ton of it. The suspects were handcuffed and escorted aboard the James, while crew members began the long process of evidence collection. Each bundle represented lives saved, families spared, and cartel profits erased. But the Pacific had more in store. Less than 24 hours later, intelligence from a patrol aircraft reported 3 additional go-fasts running in formation roughly 280 miles off Ecuador. The James sprang back into action, using both drones and the Coast Guard's elite helicopter interdiction tactical squadron. The cutter coordinated a multi-target intercept, a rare and dangerous maneuver. From above, infrared video captured the smugglers hurling their cargo overboard as they attempted to flee. The sea flashed white with spray and foam, but there was no escape. Warning shots from the helicopter stitched the water ahead of the boats, forcing them to cut their engines. Within minutes, Coast Guard boarding teams were on deck, taking 9 traffickers into custody and recovering the discarded bales. Nearly 14,000 pounds of cocaine were seized in a single operation, a staggering success by any standard. As the last evidence crate was hoisted aboard, silence settled over the deck. The crew knew they had achieved something historic, but there was no cheering, no celebration. The mood was solemn, professional. They had seen what this poison does on American streets. Every sailor aboard had friends or family touched by addiction, and that knowledge fueled their determination. The James resumed patrol at dawn. Fuel lines hummed, drones launched once again, and radar screens lit up with fresh coordinates. The mist impounds. Cyan would continue, day after day, wave after wave, until every smuggler they could find was stopped. Out here, the war on drugs was not a slogan. It was a fight fought yard by yard across thousands of miles of open ocean. By the 3rd week of January, the crew of the cutter James had earned a rare reputation on the high seas. Within the fleet, their call sign had become synonymous with precision, the kind of disciplined ferocity that only the Coast Guard could deliver. Yet despite the record-breaking seizures behind them, the Eastern Pacific was far from quiet. Cartels were adapting, rerouting their smuggling corridors farther south, deeper into international waters. The James was already on the move. At sunrise on January 7th, an American Maritime patrol aircraft picked up the outline of another vessel, a low, narrow silhouette skimming the waves off the Galapagos Islands. The crew recognized the design instantly, a low-profile vessel, custom-built by cartels to dodge radar and blend into the ocean. From above, it looked like a shadow on water. Within hours, the James had positioned itself for pursuit. The target tried to vanish beneath the horizon, its twin outboards churning whitewater in a desperate sprint. But there was no outrunning the Coast Guard helicopter overhead. Warning shots burst across the bow, the sound echoing over the Pacific. Seconds later, the smugglers cut their engines and raised their hands. As the boarding team climbed aboard, the stench of diesel and seawater mixed with something chemical and sharp. Beneath the deck, more than 8,000 pounds of cocaine were packed tight inside fiberglass compartments. The men who built it had engineered it for stealth, but not for mercy. If the vessel had taken on water, its crew would have drowned before the Coast Guard could ever reach them. That night, the crew of the James worked in silence. They cataloged evidence, tagged samples, and guarded prisoners. There was no music, no talk, only the steady hum of generators and the slap of waves again, and steel. They knew what they had stopped, They knew what would have reached American cities if they hadn't. The next morning, Captain Rodzowicz gathered his officers on the bridge. "We're not done," he said simply. The words carried across the deck like an order to every man and woman aboard. And sure enough, the next transmission from the Joint Interagency Task Force brought another lead. On January 11th, U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft reported another contact. This time, a trio of go-fast boats operating about 275 miles off Ecuador. They were moving fast and light, zigzagging through waves to avoid radar. The James and her sister cutter, the USCGC Stone, began a coordinated intercept. The helicopter from the Stone arrived first, hovering low and menacing above the smugglers. Its rotors blasted seawater into clouds of mist, forcing the traffickers to shield their faces. Over the radio, the pilots relayed a single word: comply. The smugglers didn't. They tried to scatter. The Coast Guard opened warning fire again, and one by one, the go-fast surrendered. When the smoke cleared, more than 3,300 pounds of cocaine were recovered, along with 3 more traffickers. Tired, soaked, and broken, the sea that once hid their crimes had turned against them. Each success came with the same rhythm: detection, pursuit, interception, arrest. But none of it felt routine. Every operation demanded perfect coordination, and every mistake could cost lives. The James's crew didn't chase glory, they chased discipline. And it was that discipline that was dismantling the most powerful drug networks in the hemisphere, one vessel at a time. By mid-January, the numbers were staggering. Over 24,000 pounds of narcotics seized, 15 traffickers detained, and dozens of lives saved from the lethal chain of supply. But for the crew aboard the James, it wasn't about the new embers. It was about the oath: protect the homeland, defend the coast, keep the sea free. As the last days of January bled into February, the cutter James began her long turn north. Her decks bore the scars of a hard campaign: scraped paint, weathered rails, and the unmistakable weight of exhaustion that only comes after victory. Below deck, the storage holds were sealed, packed with confiscated narcotics. Each brick represented not just evidence, but lives diverted from ruin, a physical measure of what duty can accomplish when carried out with precision and courage. In the operations room, the digital map told the story best. From Ecuador to Guatemala and across 1,000 miles of Pacific blue, the trail of red markers showed every interdiction, every interception, every vessel stopped cold in its tracks. Together, they formed a pattern of deterrence, proof that the ocean's darkest lanes were being watched. When the James finally made port in San Diego, she was greeted not by fanfare, but by quiet respect. Crewmates disembarked in sequence, saluting the ensign before stepping onto solid ground. Families waited on the pier, children waving tiny American flags. For months, their loved ones had patrolled waters most people would never see, waters where every decision could mean life or death. Captain Rodzowicz's after-action report would later describe the deployment as a model of maritime integration. In truth, it was something more. It was a demonstration of how the U.S. Coast Guard, often overlooked compared to the Navy, stands as the nation's first shield in the endless, invisible war for stability and safety. The James had not only seized narcotics, she had denied cartels a vital artery. She had reminded the world that the United States still owned the edge when it came to maritime law enforcement. But even as the crew stood down, the horizon was already shifting. New smuggling routes were emerging across the Caribbean. Criminal networks were experimenting with semi-submersible vessels, satellite navigation, and encrypted communications, tools once reserved for militaries. The ocean, vast and unforgiving, remained the world's largest battlefield. The James would not rest for long. Within weeks, she was scheduled for a new deployment, this time in the North Atlantic, to train alongside the Navy in counter-threat interdiction drills. The joint exercises, known as Comp-2X, would test every skill the crew had honed in the Pacific: boarding operations, high-speed pursuit, and cooperative engagement with U.S. and allied ships. For the men and women aboard, it was another chance to prove what modern Coast Guard service really meant. Not just rescue, not just enforcement, but active defense, a mission that demanded readiness on every front, from cartels to rogue vessels to geopolitical flashpoints. As the sun set over the San Diego pier, the camera would linger on the James's crest, a silver shield crossed by a diagonal stripe of red and blue. Beneath it, the ship's motto read simply, Semper Paratus, always ready. In that phrase lived the soul of every cutter, every sailor, every boarding officer who had stared down danger on open water. It wasn't about heroism or glory. It was about commitment, the kind that holds the line when the rest of the world looks away. Because at the edge of every horizon, where law fades and chaos begins, there is always a white hull cutting through the mist, a crew standing watch, and a flag that refuses to fall. And its name is the James.